The cake had 18 candles on it, and somewhere in the kitchen, hidden inside Linda Hayes' recipe box beneath a folded index card, was an envelope she had been carrying for 3 years. She never got the chance to give it to him. The night started the way birthday nights usually do in that family. Too many people, not enough chairs, the smell of potato salad going warm in the corner of a garage that Gary had cleaned out for the occasion. His Aunt Donna was there, his Uncle Pete, 3 cousins he only saw at holidays and funerals, a few of his friends from school. Linda had spent 2 days baking his favorite, lemon with cream cheese frosting. Gary had hung a banner that was slightly crooked and hadn't bothered to fix it. For the first hour, it was fine. Then the alcohol got comfortable. Gary and Pete had been circling each other all evening the way they always did. 2 brothers who had never quite figured out how to be in the same room without eventually proving why they shouldn't be. By 9 o'clock, the circling stopped. Wilder didn't know what the argument was originally about. Money, probably. Or something their mother had said at Christmas 3 years ago. It didn't matter. Arguments in that family were always about something else underneath. He was standing by the folding table when he heard his father's voice crack open. "You think I don't know what sacrifice looks like? I took in a child that wasn't even mine." The room went quiet in pieces. Cousins first, then friends, then Aunt Donna, who had been mid-sentence and simply stopped, her glass halfway to her mouth. Wilder turned around. His father was red-faced, pointing at nothing, his drink sloshing. Linda appeared from the kitchen doorway, dish towel in hand. Her face had gone completely still. "Gary?" "I'm just saying we sacrificed, Linda. We found that boy and gave him everything. Gary pulled him out of nothing, left in the cold like he was garbage. Found near a dumpster when he was barely 2 weeks old. We never told him because we—" "Gary, stop talking." Gary stopped. He looked at his wife. He looked at his son. And something moved across his face. Not regret exactly, but the specific horror of a man who has just watched himself destroy something that couldn't be repaired. Wilder set his cup down on the table. "Is that true?" he asked. Nobody answered. And in that silence, Wilder noticed something he would not understand until much later. His mother wasn't looking at his father. She was looking at the kitchen doorway, at the place where the recipe box sat on the counter. Her eyes stayed there for just a moment, a fraction of a second, before she looked away. He didn't know what it meant. Not yet. Later, Gary called it the alcohol talking. He said he was emotional, frustrated, mixing up his words. He put his hand on Wilder's shoulder and said, "You're our son. Full stop." Wilder nodded. He said he understood. He didn't sleep that night. He lay in his bedroom, the one with the glow-in-the-dark stars Linda had arranged in the shape of Orion's belt when he was 7, because she knew he liked space. And he let the sentence run through his head on a loop. Found near a dumpster when he was barely 2 weeks old. He told himself it was a drunk man's rambling. Gary had a habit of dramatizing things when he was emotional. That was just Gary Hayes. But the sentence wouldn't dissolve the way drunk talk usually did, because there was something underneath it. Some texture that felt different from exaggeration. The way Linda had said stop. Not "that's ridiculous" or "that's not true." Just stop. The way his Aunt Donna had disappeared to the bathroom before the argument even finished and never came back. The way Linda had looked at the kitchen doorway instead of at him. Small things. The kind you only notice when you're already afraid. By 3 a.m., Wilder was sitting at his desk with his laptop open. He typed his own name into a search bar and felt immediately stupid. He closed the laptop. But he couldn't stop thinking about the kitchen doorway. He didn't confront his parents. Not yet. Instead, he started paying attention differently, walking through the house like someone quietly cataloging things he'd always taken for granted. There were no photos of Linda pregnant. He had never noticed this before. There were pictures of everything. Gary with a bad mustache in the 90s, Linda at her sister's wedding, the dog they'd had before Wilder was born. But no round belly, no hospital bracelet, no tired new mother photo under fluorescent lights. He waited until both parents were out of the house and pulled down the gray metal filing box from the hallway closet. His birth certificate was there. His name, his birthday, September 14th. His parents listed as Gary Thomas Hayes and Linda Marie Hayes. Everything looked normal, except the hospital on the certificate was St. Margaret's Medical Center. And Wilder knew, because Linda had mentioned it once while complaining about a friend's birth experience, that St. Margaret's had closed in 2004, a full year before he was born. He sat on the hallway floor for a long time, but that wasn't the only thing he found. Underneath the birth certificate, tucked flat and unremarkable, was a document he almost missed. A page from what looked like an attorney's letterhead, dated a few months after his birthday, with a case reference number and 2 words that made his chest tighten. Placement finalization. Not a birth document, a legal one. He photographed it with his phone and put everything back exactly as he'd found it. Then he went to the kitchen. He opened the recipe box on the counter. The envelope was there, cream-colored, unsealed. His name written on the front in his mother's handwriting. He stood there looking at it for a long time. He didn't open it. He couldn't explain why. He put the lid back on the box and walked out of the kitchen. He told his friend Marcus he was doing a genealogy project. Marcus didn't question it. The county records office was a low beige building near the courthouse that smelled like old carpet and toner. The clerk at the front desk, a woman named Carol, had reading glasses on a chain and the expression of someone who had answered the same questions for 20 years. She was helpful, walked him through the public index, explained the process. He found the discrepancy on his second visit. His birth registration was dated nearly 4 months after his listed birthday. Standard registrations happened within days, weeks at most. Why would a registration be delayed that long? He asked Carol. She considered the question. Administrative backlog sometimes, or complications with the filing, or an adoption finalized after the fact and recorded as a live birth. He thanked her and went to his car and sat there without starting it. He came back a third time, and this time, Carol met him at the desk before he reached the counter. Her expression had changed. Less patient, more careful, like someone who had been thinking about him since his last visit. "I did some checking," she said quietly. "I probably shouldn't have, but you're not the first person your age who's come in here looking like you do." She folded her hands on the counter. "There is a sealed record from the fall of your birth year, an infant abandonment case. I can't tell you what's in it, but the record exists." "Can I access it?" "You can petition the court. If you're the individual named in the record," she looked at him steadily. "Based on the timing, I think you probably are." He filed the petition that afternoon. While he waited for the petition, his parents noticed the change in him. His mother asked twice if everything was okay. He said yes. Gary watched him at dinner in a way that felt careful and sad, like a man tracking a weather system he couldn't stop. One evening, Linda came to his bedroom doorway and stood there a moment before she spoke. "Wilder, I need you to know something." He looked up. "Your father and we had a plan for your birthday." Her voice was steady, but her hands were not. "We were going to tell you everything that night. I had written you a letter. I've been writing it for 3 years. He stared at her. "Gary ruined it," she said. Not bitterly, just factually, the way you say something that simply is. "He didn't mean to, but he did." She left without saying anything else. Wilder sat very still for a long time after she was gone. The unsealed documents arrived in a plain envelope 6 weeks later. He opened them alone in his car, parked outside the post office. The report was 4 pages. Clinical, careful, written by people trying hard not to have feelings about what they were describing. On September 12th, 2 days before his recorded birthday, a woman named Patricia Okafor, walking to her car behind a laundromat on Clement Street, called 911 to report an infant found in a cardboard box near the rear of the building. The box had been lined with a folded towel. The infant was alive, cold, estimated to be approximately 12 to 14 days old. He was treated for mild hypothermia and malnutrition, otherwise healthy. The investigation found no witnesses, no suspects. The case was closed after 60 days. But there was an attachment, a supplemental officer note, 2 paragraphs, filed 2 weeks after the initial report. Patricia Okafor had called the precinct a second time. She remembered something she hadn't mentioned initially. When she'd first walked around the side of the building, she'd seen a young woman, early 20s, thin, dark hair, moving quickly toward the street. At the time, Patricia thought nothing of it. It was only later, after she found the box, that she put it together. She described the woman as looking back once before she turned the corner. Just once. Wilder read that paragraph 3 times. He thought about what it meant to look back. The biological parents' names came through in a second petition 8 weeks later. Darlene Cook and Raymond Cook, married, neighboring county. Before he searched, he sat down with his parents and told them everything he had found. All of it. Linda cried quietly, holding her coffee mug with both hands. Gary didn't look away from him once. "We were afraid," Gary said, when Wilder asked why they'd never told him. "Afraid you'd feel like you didn't belong here. Afraid you'd find something that hurt you." "And then you told me at my birthday party," Wilder said. Gary closed his eyes. "I know." "Were you really going to tell me? That night?" Linda answered. "Yes, I had the letter ready. I was going to give it to you after everyone left." She looked at him directly. "It took me 3 years to find the right words, and your father—" She stopped, breathed. "It wasn't how it was supposed to happen." The conversation went 3 hours and resolved nothing cleanly, but it was honest. And honest, Wilder was starting to understand, was harder to find than he'd thought. Raymond Cook had died 7 years earlier, 41 years old, complications from chronic alcohol use. Darlene Cook had died 4 years after that, 39, same cause. He found a woman named Michelle Cook, Darlene's younger sister, through a community board posting and sent her a short, careful email. She replied within 2 hours. She confirmed what he feared. She told him that Darlene had not been a bad person, only a very sick one. That she and Raymond had had nothing to offer. No stability, no sobriety, no safe version of themselves. Leaving the baby somewhere public, somewhere visible, was the most Darlene could think to do. "The towel in the box was hers," Michelle wrote. "I remember that towel. It was the only one they owned." Wilder read that sentence 4 times. Then Michelle sent a second email, a day later. She had hesitated, she said, before sending it, but she thought he should know. About 6 weeks after the abandonment, Darlene had gone to the county social services office. She had asked about the baby. She had wanted to know if he was safe. They told her he was in foster care. They told her she could apply to reclaim him if she completed a sobriety program and a home evaluation. She failed the evaluation. She tried twice more over the following year. She failed both times. "She never stopped asking about you," Michelle wrote, right up until she couldn't anymore. Wilder put his phone down on the table and didn't pick it up again for a long time. There was no dramatic confrontation. Life rarely provides those. What it gave him instead was a Wednesday in November. Wilder and Gary at the kitchen table, coffee going cold between them, the beagle Patch asleep under Wilder's chair. "Michelle told me something," Wilder said, "about Darlene, about her trying to come back." Gary was quiet for a moment. Then, "We knew." Wilder looked at him. "The adoption agency told us, when the process was finalized, that the biological mother had attempted to reclaim." Gary's jaw worked. "We were terrified for months that something would fall through, that we'd lose you." He looked down at his hands. When it was finalized, Linda cried for 2 hours straight. I don't think I've ever seen her cry like that. "Were you ever going to tell me that part?" "It was in the letter," Gary said quietly. "It was all in the letter." Wilder thought about the envelope in the recipe box, still sealed. Still sitting there, waiting for a birthday night that went wrong. "Can I have it?" he asked. Gary got up without a word and came back a minute later with the cream-colored envelope, his name in his mother's handwriting. He didn't open it at the table. He took it to his room, sat on the edge of his bed, and read it slowly, start to finish. He never said what was in it. Some things are only yours. He visits Michelle twice a year now. She shows him photos of Darlene young, before Raymond, before everything. And in them, Darlene looks like someone who believed her life was still going to open up. Someone who might have looked back, just once, at a cardboard box behind a laundromat before she turned a corner and kept walking. He doesn't know how to feel about her. Some days it's grief, some days it's nothing. Some days, rare and strange, it's something close to understanding. Not forgiveness exactly, not yet, maybe never, but the quiet recognition of a woman who tried, in the only ways she had left, to make sure he survived her. He still goes home for holidays. Linda still makes the lemon cake, and Gary still watches every game from a couch 3 states away, texting play-by-play commentary like a man reporting from a war zone. The letter stays in Wilder's nightstand drawer. He has never told anyone what it said. But sometimes, when someone asks him about his family, he gets a specific look. Not sad, not complicated, just settled. Like a person who has weighed something heavy for a long time and finally decided where to put it down. My dad watches every game, he says. My mom wrote me a letter for 3 years trying to find the right words. He never finishes the thought out loud. He doesn't need to, because the question people really want to ask, who are your real parents, has an answer he found somewhere between a sealed record and a folded towel and a cream-colored envelope with his name on the front. It just isn't the simple answer anyone was expecting. And maybe that's exactly the point. There was a woman on Clement Street who looked back once before she turned the corner. There was another woman who spent 3 years writing a letter she almost never got to give. Between those 2 women, a boy grew up. He carries both of them now. Not equally, not without pain, but completely. That, perhaps, is the truest definition of being found.